This is your strong point.
Yes. Hi, guys.
Hello.
It's Vanessa, founder of Main Street Mamas, and I'm here with Rebecca Walsh, who's the founder of Early Childhood Matters.
Oh.
We've been so fortunate to work with Rebecca over the last few months. We are gearing up to have our third
time moms group.
we're going to have a third-time moms group. We're also gearing up for our third round of second-time moms.
Yes, starting on Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, February 6th. Going for 8 weeks, skipping our children's spring break, February 27th.
That's right.
So Rebecca's the mom to 3. Remind us how old they are, Rebecca.
They are 3, 6, and 9. Every time I say that, it seems a little unbelievable.
No, almost no more babies.
No more babies. We've got no more babies. We've got kids.
Yeah.
That's
well,
crazy.
I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and in 13 days I'll have a baby.
You will have a baby.
I will be in our third-time moms group, being held here at Main Street Mamas in Stonestown Galleria. So today I asked Rebecca if she could come by and tell us a little bit about some of the course offerings that she hosts around town, and what she's going to be doing here. And just a little background, Rebecca was actually a preschool teacher at Pacific Primary here in San Francisco for almost 10 years. When did you found Early Childhood Matters?
I founded Early Childhood Matters in 2010 after being a teacher and director and teacher mentor for about 20 years. I had my own child. And it is true what they say. They are much harder when they're your own.
We talk about that a lot.
Yes.
We have very spirited children.
Yes. My first was a very spirited child. So as my mother says, well, he's made you an excellent parent educator. There is nothing I won't believe. So yes, and I was, very humbled by the experience of having children. And I was also just really thankful that I had both a developmental background, I have an undergrad in child development and master's in religion and psychology. And so just having that developmental knowledge and then having the kind of the tried and true experience of being a preschool and toddler teacher and learning all those strategies. So I've always figured, if they work on other people's children, eventually they have to work on my own. And I have found that to be true, actually. And it does take a little bit longer, a little bit more dedication to have them work on your own children. But I'm always thankful to have those strategies to continue to come back to. And just to kind of have that road that I know that I'm heading down, because as a parent, as any parent, like we're always going off the road, right? And we're like,
sure.
Oh no, I shouldn't have, I handled that all wrong.
Woulda, shoulda, coulda.
Woulda, shoulda, coulda. And I think you can actually get lost in the forest of the woulda, shoulda, coulda. So what I'm thankful for is that I sort of at least know the path that I'm heading down. I know the path that I want to be on, which means that I know when I'm off it. Right? And I know that, next time that happens, and the wonderful thing about being a parent is that will happen again tomorrow. So the next time that happens, I know that I want to come back to this path and try to respond to that situation, to that behavior a little bit differently. So I just wanted to be able to give parents those tools that I learned because it's a very, very difficult thing being a parent, as you're all aware, much harder than they tell you it will be. And
if you're just embarking on this journey, I know we have a lot of new moms in our community. We're about to hit 13,000 parents within Main Street Mamas, which is huge. But I recognize that a lot of you are new, and maybe this seems really far down the road to talk about a willful, preschooler. But it's really wonderful to hear Rebecca talking about kind of charting your parenting journey. And I know you have a really strong partnership with your husband, and it's really a testimony to like the journey being a partnership. If you do have a partner, like really making sure that you guys are on the same path, or that you're even just having these conversations that might feel foreign or
having an early understanding of like what is your goal as parents, like what are the discipline strategies that you want to be using, where are you? Absolutely. So we do have some classes for younger children. We could start.
Sure. So I thought Great. So going back to Brain Development 101, it's a one-off class that you're holding for the earliest
Yes.
of babes and parents that you're working with. So this is a class geared towards the first 12 months of life with your child and how to engage.
Yeah.
And what babies respond to?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, basically, a lot of my classes over the last, it's been almost 10 years now, have been around, really beginning with the toddler years when you start to really having to make those discipline decisions. But this class kind of was born out of my work I've been doing in the second time moms groups, and a lot of the moms have asked questions around like what can you do in the first year to support the child and their development. And, I really firmly believe like there's so much information out there about like different things, especially if you're a new mom, different things that you need to buy
even
or do.
Like Monty Kids just came out, right?
Yes.
So that's different than when my 3-year-old was even around.
Yeah.
And so it really makes you start thinking about what should I be doing.
Yes.
And as wonderful as it is to have these resources,
Yes.
the additional layer of pressure.
Yeah, exactly. So, so I think kind of just trying to demystify some of the information around what does a baby actually need in that first year of life, and really talking to parents what we know about the brain. We know so much more, and you hear all like, oh my gosh, the first year is so critical. We know that 700 million synaptic connections are made in the brain per second during the first year of life, which is actually new information that we didn't have 10 years ago when I had my first. So again, so instead of getting overwhelmed with the sort of the pressure of what that brings, really thinking about the fundamentals of what is it that a child needs in that first year for optimal brain development. And what it comes down to, of course, is this caring, loving relationship with you and other important caregivers in their life. So we'll really talk about simple things that you can do, like the way that you change a diaper that will help develop their brains, as well as some simple ways to play and interact. But yeah, kind of what all happens during that first year, and what are some simple things that we can do.
And is it appropriate for somebody who's transitioning to a first-time caregiver, wanting to make sure that caregiver's parenting, is caring in the same way that they're parenting?
Yes. Yeah.
Responding to diaper changes and feedings and care cues.
Absolutely. And we will also talk a little bit about separation anxiety, which can happen really young, even though, it peaks usually around 9 months. Still, when a child is transitioning from, let's say, being cared for by mom to being cared for by dad who's going on paternity leave, there will be, some transitions that will happen, or, going from parent to a nanny. Even the best nanny in the world, there will be a transition for the child.
Sure.
So we'll talk a little bit about that as well, and what can people do to help the child, the baby, feel supported during that transition.
Yeah, I know my sister just went back to work with a 3-month-old and was really taken aback by the stranger danger or the anxiety, the separation anxiety that her 3-month-old had. Just wasn't expecting it so early. And
yes. Yeah, it is. It is a little unexpected. I think we think about it with the older child who's more aware. But yeah, my daughter had a similar experience. And so, talking about some strategies for the caregiver to help with that as well.
Great. And you can find out all about Rebecca's classes and her offerings also on earlychildhoodmatters.org.
Yes.
So
when all these are coming up.
Yes. So then moving on to the next kind of age-appropriate class, the Parenting Through the Toddler Years series. We have a series coming up here at the shop. And can you tell us a little bit about what the format of that class is and what people can hope to learn?
Yeah, so the series is it's a 5-week class, and we're going to be holding it here starting in March. And I do recommend the intro first. We just had an intro last night at practice, and there are some other ones coming up at Kaiser. And I recommend taking that first if possible. But basically what we're talking about is this next stage of development, and we're talking about how to make these decisions between, we really want to foster the independence or creativity of a child in this stage of development, but we also really want to make sure that they feel safe and secure in the relationship with their parents, which means that they really want us to know that they really want to know that they're still children, even though they're sort of asserting themselves as sort of independent and sort of, I have my own ideas, I have my own power now. But what comes up for the child during that time is, how will you love me now that I'm not a baby anymore? So,
and is this where we see the regression happening?
Yes. Yeah. So that's why you see a lot of that back and forth stuff happening, where, the child is super independent one moment and the next moment super clingy and doesn't want anything to do with you, it seems, at the park, but then won't leave your side when you're, cooking dinner or something. So it's a lot of back and forth for the child. And one of the strategies that I would say too, one of the sort of golden tickets to working with toddlers is that when we're setting a limit with them, we have to help them to feel like somehow this limit is something that's their idea, or that's something that doesn't go against my will, because my will becomes super powerful and strong, and I'm always going to express it at this age. So when you tell me, for example, not to dump this water, then my gut instinct is to dump it faster, right? So one of the keys to working with a toddler.
Have you seen my toddler at the water cooler?
For example, right?
For example.
So that's one of the keys to working with a toddler is, instead of telling them, please don't, stop playing with the water cooler. Please stop playing. Don't dump the water. Please don't dump the water out, And you can, as an adult, we can use as many rational explanations, until the cows come home. We can talk about how, that water is really, a valuable resource. We can talk about how it could possibly get your books wet, and get other thing. It could, ruin the table. We can talk about, how, it will get your dress wet or whatever. And all of that is just going to mean nothing to the toddler, whose desire and will is pretty much all consuming at this age. So really the only way to work around that for a young child is when they pick up the cup and you see them, start to tip it out, to be able to say, oh, I see you really want to tip out that water. Let's find a safe place. And we suddenly grab a container and we say, can you pour it into here? Or, let's go to the sink and see if you can practice pouring, because, obviously my will right now says I'm super interested in pouring and dumping. Now, the water...
Yes, the water cooler.
The water cooler, yeah. That's a little bit more challenging, right? Because the... Or
what about when the behavior is impacting another sibling, right? So now it's like a layered effect.
No.
My 5-year-old is screaming because my 3-year-old is splashing him in the bath.
Yeah.
And so, we can turn around. You can try to keep your cool as much as possible, but all the while.
Yeah. So
do you have tricks for us, kind of staying calm through the process?
Yeah. I mean, it's extremely difficult as a parent. I think that's one of the challenges, is our buttons are being pushed and triggered at the same time our child's buttons are being pushed and triggered by us telling them no. But sometimes I think...
Because you could just see the smirk of the child who's being told no, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Exactly. So again, sometimes when you tell a young child directly to stop doing something, you are ultimately not knowing it. You're setting yourself up for a little bit of failure, right? Because you're setting them up to disobey. And anytime you set up a child to disobey who's, under 3.5, they probably will. Because my instinct is my whole body tells me to assert myself to you and to assert my independence. So if you tell me, stop splashing the water, I am going to look at you and smirk and start splashing it. But if you say, oh, Caitlin, I see you're really interested in the water. I wonder what else we could do with the water. Could you take this cup and pour it on your doll? Or, if it was splashing, like you said, can you turn around in the bath and splash over here? And then maybe you join in with her and make it kind of playful and fun of like, let's splash over here. Let's splash over there. Oh, let's splash, can we splash with one finger?
Ooh.
Can we splash with 2 fingers? Can we splash with 3 fingers? And meanwhile, we've turned our bodies around and it's not disturbing, big brother. So, in some way, when you're learning these, it's hard to think in the moment, of course, of these creative things. But one of the things that I teach in the toddler workshops is when you want to say no to a child or stop or don't, if you can train your brain to say, I see. If you can train your brain to say, I see. And what you're saying is, I see something good about this behavior. I see there's something about this activity that is interesting to you, and you're really recognizing and respecting the child in that moment and saying, you know what, you're not doing this just to piss me off, even though it looks like it. You're not doing this just to piss your brother off. But there is something about this that is interesting to you. It's something about pouring the water that is part of your development that's super engaging and interesting. There's something about splashing that is super interesting and engaging. So if you can start with I see and saying, I see you really want to splash the water. I see you really want to pour. Let's set up a pouring station for you in the sink. I see you really want to splash the water. Let's turn our body over here. And again, the alternative, we call it honoring the impulse behind the behavior. So if the impulse is to splash, can I say, yes, you can splash. Let's do it in a way that's safe or less annoying sometimes. Or you're making it safer, less annoying, or more socially acceptable. What the idea is.
I love that, honoring the impulse.
Yeah, honor the impulse behind the behavior. And the closer you can get to the impulse, so for example, in that situation in the bathtub, if you said, I see you really want to splash, do you want to play with this toy duck or whatever? Mm-hmm. Chances are the child's going to be like, no, I don't want to play with the duck right now. I want to splash.
I want to splash.
So see, if you can really honor the impulse, splash, okay, how do I make splash safe, fun, less annoying, more socially acceptable? Then you can kind of get somewhere. And usually when the child really feels heard and they feel like that impulse is honored, they are honestly so happy to go over to the sink and do a pouring thing.
Yeah.
Totally happy.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you. We've had a lot of success too. I don't know, are you familiar with Charity Kahn's music?
Oh, yeah.
So Charity has a lot of music that really honors the child and is so respectful of the child.
Aww.
And also has different varying kind of volumes and tones within her work. Okay. So if we can all get on to a song and kind of redirect them and, with the splashing, her jam song goes up and down in volume, so you can kind of splash soft and splash high.
Exactly.
So I've found that music has been really helpful in trying to, especially we have the 5-year-old and the 3-year-old, and getting everyone on the same page. Yeah. Music has been helpful. Absolutely. Or just rhythm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tap it out.
Yes.
So I really love how many experts we have in our world and in our community, and
makes you feel lucky to be in San Francisco.
It does, and it's just wonderful how collaborative everyone is. So, moving on to our next. So we were just talking about, if you're new to listening to what you can all replay this, but we were just speaking to the intro and then the 5-week series of parenting through the toddler years.
In the 5-week series, we also cover the really important topics of potty training, which I actually recommend just to kind of quickly my approach to potty training, which is really, it's a child-led approach to potty training is what it is. And it's a very slow process, but it is child-led. And because it's a slower process, I actually recommend starting early, as early as 14 months. Really, the earlier the better, but the caveat is it's not a 3-day method. It is not a sort of parent agenda. method. It's a slow introduction where the child has an experience to really understand and begin to regulate their own body. And it draws on, some of the principles of elimination and, things that people still all over the world use to train even 10-month-olds. So we kind of draw on that, but put it in a more modern kind of context where obviously it's a little bit different. So it's a slow. For example, my son, we started at 14 months and he was fully trained by 2 and 3 years, so he kind of led that. My daughter was started at 22 months. She was fully trained by 24 months. And our third, you'll notice each one is getting higher as a start date. But the third, we started a little bit late, 2 1/4. And, it was about 2 3/4 until he was fully trained. But I really believe in sort of letting the child lead the process. But unfortunately, you can't totally let a child lead the process, or they probably won't be trained until closer to 4 or 5. So it's finding that balance. So, but yeah, we cover that in a series, as well as sleep, transitioning to a toddler bed.
Oh, that's a big one.
That is a big one. And even before you're ready for that, things like giving up a nap or just nap resistance, which usually happens right around the 2nd birthday. The child is like,
really mind-numbing.
Yes.
Really fun to try to put your kid down for a nap for 2 hours. Really wonderful buzzkill. Right. When you're looking for that warm cup of coffee and to put your feet up for a minute.
Yes, it's really hard.
So that sounds great. I would have loved some guidance through that. Do you find like everyone has something that's difficult? Like potty training was a breeze for my daughter, but the nap thing, that's a doozy.
Exactly. Cover it all.
Yeah. And it's really nice, I have to say, having now experienced a few of Rebecca's seminars here at the space, it's nice the cohort that comes out of it, and it's just nice to normalize the experience so that, everyone's going through this. This is, it's just nice to hear, just another parent say, oh yeah, oh my gosh, the big feelings of a 3-year-old. Yeah. We're right there with you,
We, at the workshop last night, we had all the sort of things we love about this stage of toddlerhood and then things that are challenging for us. And, we kind of went through and wrote up these 2 lists. And one of the moms said, after looking at the list of challenges, said, is it normal that I have all of those challenges?
Right.
And I was like, yes. And that is why, that's the beauty of taking a class in a community setting, is that, I think it is very hard as a parent to feel like I'm the only one, because you know what, you don't see the worst behaviors. You see in public, every once in a while, but for the most part, when you're with your friends, you're kind of seeing a lot of times like the best version of that child, or especially if you're not spending a lot of time with them, you might see, and you see the mom and she's all put together, and it seems, and you're going, oh my gosh, what's wrong with my child? And that's not how it is for that mom. That's just how it was for her for that 10 minutes that you saw her in the grocery store. So it's hard not to compare, and I think it is nice to have, and that kind of moves into the Second Time Moms group.
Yeah.
If you want to go there. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's go there. So we have a Second Time Moms group, as we mentioned in the beginning. We have another group. I think we still have a few spaces left available. We've got a Second Time Moms group starting next Wednesday, which is the 6th of February, and it goes for 8 weeks, skipping 1 week in February, the 27th, I believe. So we'll be meeting here through mid-April. It meets from 12:30 to 2 on Wednesdays. And do you want to talk a little bit about?
Yeah, so I guess it's hard because there's 8 weeks, and so there's 8 different topics really that we cover. So it's hard to kind of pull something. But one thing that I'll say about the Second Time Moms group is that, first of all, it's very different if some of you are second time moms already, or soon or down the line going to become one. You really can't go to first time moms groups anymore. It's very difficult. The questions are very different from the moms in the room, and everyone's sort of, worried about very different things, whereas you're more worried about your toddler and how they're adjusting, and have a lot of questions about your own sanity and just kind of surviving a day.
Survival mode.
Yes.
It's finest. Yes.
Yeah. So it is nice to just have that support. And
there's things that are really rewarding about the second time.
Yes.
It's not.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not afraid your baby's going to break. And, I hear time and time again that moms, Rebecca has started a few weeks ago an in-home series.
Yeah.
And I have had some of those moms that have been coming for a 0 to 6 month group here.
Yeah.
And one thing that they were relaying that they were really relieved about is that everybody comes with their baby and talks about their toddler. And it's like, okay, it's not just me, the first time you're so focused on the baby and this next time.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I mean, I just felt really lonely the second time around, actually, because the first time I did have a lot of support groups that I went to. And the second time, all of your friends are on different schedules, right? So it's not very likely that you'll have a friend that's on maternity leave at the same time.
But you do have friends the second time.
You have friends, yes, exactly. But either they were not on maternity leave,
sure,
right? Or if they were home, then when we got together, we were getting together with our toddlers and the babies, and so we weren't talking. It was literally just
and it's years of being figuring out, we've got to go out for a mom's night out to be able to talk because you're not talking on the playground.
No, exactly. So especially when you've got newborns and toddlers running around. So I really miss having adult conversations. So that was one of the reasons why I started the second time mom group, as well as just having, I think the difference for us with the commitment group, because some moms are like, oh, it's hard, I don't know if I can commit to that. I'll say that the reason why I really press for that in our groups is that one of my goals is for the moms to feel safe and connected, and to feel during that time that they can really open up and share, and that they leave, and often do leave, still feeling connected to that group of moms. So I want the moms to be the same every week, and I want it to be... And
I've witnessed really that cohort being built in these groups.
Yeah. And they usually have a texting thing going on where they're texting each other throughout the week and doing meetups and stuff.
The first group was going to Alamo Draft House to the movies each week.
They get
it's,
or they'll just text each other in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Through an app, so it's not you're bothering each other. But yeah. So I think that's.
And I'm sorry.
Really
could
nice.
You talk a little bit about the research that you provide during that time? Because I think the writings that you provide are really nice too.
Yeah. So every week there is a topic with readings that are from my own course studies. Really, a lot of them are from
mainly
my
her
old
religious
textbooks.
studies.
Yeah, I know. That's my job all the time. But yeah, so we'll have the first couple weeks are really devoted to how to support the older sibling. We draw from Siblings Without Rivalry, and there's a great article we read called "It's Okay to Hate the Baby," a chapter in Heather Shoemaker's book called "It's Okay Not to Share," if you're familiar with that. But so we do the first couple weeks are really devoted to getting off to a good start. How do we support the older sibling with all of their big feelings and during that transition? And then we talk about. Then we kind of move to talk about how is the relationship feeling with the new baby, because sometimes that actually gets forgotten a little bit.
Well, it's so nice you open with your song. And you close with a song too.
We close with a goodbye song, but we open with a song and actually some little rituals where we sing to the babies.
It's just so nice to have that ritualized time with the second.
Yes, because that was the other thing I realized. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think I've sung to my second child. I haven't done all these things. So just trying to map out some time for that as well. And then we talk about self-care, which is even more important and twice as hard, 3 times as hard the second time around, and relationship with our partners, which is also really important and really challenging. So,
tears are fully welcome.
Absolutely.
Laughter is welcome.
Yes.
But it's nice to have a safe space.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that it is that the same moms each week, that you can really feel very comfortable,
Yes, you don't have to feel anything's gonna, just that you're getting to know people.
Yeah.
And I think the more people share, the more other people feel vulnerable enough to share. So I usually say that in the beginning, if you, the more you share, the more it really encourages somebody next to you to open up, because, the problem with the hard thing about being a mom is that people ask us questions all the time, but it's not, the way I see it, it's not that I don't want to answer honestly, it's that I don't have time.
Yeah.
I don't have time to answer honestly, and I know that you probably don't have time to listen to the honest answer. So
I know I often find myself answering honestly, and I'm like, you don't have time for this answer.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to cut it here and tell you.
It's fine. Everything's fine, right?
Sometimes I do tell people, I'm like, I don't know if we have time for that conversation.
Yeah.
That's another coffee
But at least
chat.
once a week to just have a place where you feel like, there is a time and a space where everybody is there to listen to you and support you, and a time where you can share beyond the like, oh yeah, it's going fine, it's a little hard, but we're getting through, unpack that a little bit.
Yeah. And Rebecca does teach these in home, and then she also teaches them here. Are you doing them anywhere else right now?
No.
The series?
Yeah.
The nice thing, not just to plug our space here, but we do have parking, like 100 feet that way. Plenty of parking through Nordstrom's. Yes. So you really can pull up. And
I think the nice thing about having the second-time moms come here as well is that you're in a mall, which is kind of a little bit of a treat if you haven't been to the mall. I mean, before I started teaching here, I was like, I really haven't been to the mall much at all in the last 5 years.
Now she's addicted to her hairstylist in the mall. Who knew that she would love the gal in Aveda?
And sometimes I'll pick up some, lipstick or, do things. So it
nice
is a way of a little self-care. You can get an errand done.
Get your bubble tea.
You can get your boba tea. There's our boba tea. That's nice.
And everyone, we get lunch and you have it here. So that's nice. And
I'll pick up lunch for you, which is, the moms really appreciate that. So I can, if people just order, let me know, and then I pick up a round of orders usually on the way up.
You're the best. So we've had a lot of fun with that class. And so maybe we'll wrap up here if you, I just want to be cognizant of time.
Yes, I think we have to go pick up our children from school.
Yes, so 3 more classes or 3 more offerings that you do have. Maybe you can choose which you want to talk to. The willful preschooler, which I think comes on the heels of parenting through the toddler years.
Yes.
Positive discipline, which Lord knows we all could have. Probably have positive discipline in our relationships.
And actually, I have people. There's a positive discipline for preschoolers class, but I have people all the time. I've been starting to use these strategies with the people I work with my
That's what I'm
coworkers,
saying.
It's basically, It is sort of learning nonviolent communication skills, active listening skills, and how to set boundaries in a way that people can listen and hear you and actually cooperate, especially our children.
But a really large offering that you also have is the Play and Learn groups and the Explorers group.
Yeah. So really quickly. I'll tell you, I grew up with the Explorers, which is an outdoor nature-based group, and I grew up until I was 6, which I think about my formative early childhood years in Southern Oregon, and we had the forest was our backyard. So raising small children in San Francisco was actually a little bit different for me and a little bit hard, and I felt like they weren't getting the experience of nature that I had as a child, and it kind of made me sad. As much as I love all the benefits of raising children in San Francisco, that part of it was making me a little sad. So I actually started the Explorers group when my second was around 2, and I wanted to help her to just get some weekly commune with nature. So that is currently it's being taught by Evelyn Nichols.
She's an amazing mom and educator within the mainstream moms community.
Yes, and she's a former founder of Mighty Bambinis,
which was a wonder school.
Yes, which was an amazing place. My son went there for a year. My youngest. Yeah, Patrick went there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So anyway, she's an amazing early childhood educator, and anyhow, it's we meet outdoors, and the goal is to have children have an experience of nature. So we meet in Golden Gate Park, in the Presidio, at the beach.
You change locations?
Every 2 weeks. So they have 2 weeks in the same spot.
Oh,
and
nice.
Then, but it's, no playgrounds, not really much grass. It's a lot of, mud and rocks and dirt and hills, and it's amazing. I could go on. But, and then the indoor groups are really different, but really, the reason why I started the indoor groups was when I became a parent, or actually as an early teacher, I had voices in my head of people that I had seen handle this situation with a toddler, right? And so when I became a parent, as I was struggling to handle different situations, sometimes I would literally imagine, okay, what would Kathleen, have done in this situation? What would Saida do in this situation? What would Belan do? And I could hear their voices doing it. Why? Because I had watched them over and over handling a situation between two toddlers who wanted the same toy, or a child who was hitting, and I could hear their voices, and that really helped me as a parent to be able to then do that with my own children. So these groups were started so that I could do some modeling sort of in the moment, without having to go through a degree in child development. They're very small classes, so they're different than like a observation class at City College where there's 20 or 30 people in the room. These are 8 to 10 kids. So, and it's an observation class, and then teacher modeling, and then parent-child playtime. And currently over in like Nopa neighborhood, we have a huge church basement, and we are also thinking about starting a slightly younger group here at Main Street Mamas, where we can have that same. It's a learning. It's
early explorers. And
yeah,
navigating that 15 to 24 month.
Yes.
Play environment, right?
Yeah.
How to navigate sharing.
Yes, turn taking,
and because
yeah, it comes up a lot in a toddler group setting, so it's fun to see it. In
how do you share your sand toys?
Yes,
and what's appropriate, even from like the positive discipline perspective, how much disciplining should happen? How much should you be sitting back and letting them navigate that conversation?
Yes. I think we'll have to have a whole nother conversation. That would be a great other topic.
So tune back in. We'll have Rebecca for another coffee chat.
Yes, we'll talk specifically about sharing and playground etiquette. I think would be a good.
Yeah. So Rebecca's all over town. She is on fire. She is here. Main Street Mamas. She's at Recess on 30th and Terravall. Lisa Grimaud's space. She is at Practice. Nina Kaiser's space.
And I teach at Kaiser.
She teaches at Kaiser.
The Mission Bay and the Geary campuses.
St. Cyprian's.
Yes.
In Nopa. A church, that's where you hold your play and learn groups. Evelyn Nichols does the Outdoor Explorers group. So,
and we'll always do, if you're interested in getting a group together, that's always another option as well.
She'll find more hours in the day. So
I actually love my schedule because it is quite flexible as a mom of 3. So I work a little bit in the morning and a couple evenings, but I do have my afternoons. Like right now, I need to go pick up my kids from school. So
she has a rock star mom that works alongside her, right?
Yes.
Kellum.
Shout out to Kellum and some of you know Kellum. She is the amazing person that makes everything work for Early Childhood Matters, really. So she helps a lot to make sure that we're super responsive to your questions and, with anything around registration and private consults. I also do private consults.
So if there's anything that you're looking for that we haven't discussed today, come to Rebecca, let her know. It might make a light bulb go off that isn't already on the roster.
That's true.
And we're so happy and thrilled to have you here in our space. So thank you so much for taking a leap of faith in the Main Street Mamas Clubhouse. It's been really fun. And Hopefully, if there's some second-time moms interested in joining, next Wednesday we start our second-time moms 8-week series. So without further ado, we will say goodbye and meet you in person soon. Alrighty, bye.